How do brands create a desire for their products?
Human needs and human insecurities.
As for brands, is this ethical and is it fair to create that unnecessary need among consumers?
Why do we end up buying things which we don't need? So what is the science behind?
Things that you need to survive, which is essentially the roti kapda makan. All these three fundamental aspects of physiological needs are probably no more physiological in nature and more money flowing out of the pocket. Don't think through minimalism you will stop buying.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Better Effect, where we dive deep into the psychology behind consumer choices, employees' actions, habit formation, and of course, the impact of behavior on our society. We are your hosts. I am Dr. Tavleen Kaur, an educator by profession and a seeker by spirit.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sahiba Sahani, a marketing enthusiast and someone with deep passion for understanding how consumer behavior shapes the world around us. In today's episode, we're going to be delving deep into the psychology of why consumers feel that urge to purchase things when they did not even need that in the first place. We are trying to understand how brands create that irresistible need to purchase more products among consumers.
Joining in today's episode is a very special guest, Mr. Avilash Chakravarti, someone with 16 years of experience with brands like the Walt Disney, Fox, EY, among others. He is someone who's an expert when it comes to brand strategy, marketing communications, advertising, and media. Welcome to The Better Effect, Avilash.
Thank you so much, Tavleen. Thank you so much, Saiba. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We are honored to host you. So, Avilash, given your vast experience, to kick off things, help us and our viewers understand how do brands create a desire for their products?
Okay, great. I think you've asked really the most, existential question that we all live with, in today's life, and it's increasingly becoming so. How do brands create desire is a topic which I think would take a podcast or two, maybe just to address that. But I think I can just say a couple of quick pointers in terms of how do they do, right? And I think the very fundamentals of this lies in two things, human needs and human insecurities, right? So the way brands create desires are tapping into either what our real needs are and largely tapping into what our broad insecurities are, and therefore create something that we call in marketing a need gap. And placing a product in your need gap, making you feel that you really want it, even if you actually don't, and eventually taking you towards the path to purchase, as we say, and eventually you buying it.
Right. That kind of brings me to a very interesting example. Let's take the case of smartphone industry. Now, every year, smartphone companies come up with newer models with minor improvisations like a better processor or a better camera. And as rational consumers, we very well know that our existing phone is serving our needs and we do not need a new phone. Yet, we will always see those long queues outside the Apple store, people queuing up right from the night before to purchase that new phone. As for brands, is this ethical and is it fair to create that unnecessary need among consumers?
If the previous question was the more existential question, this is probably a more spiritual question in an angle, if I may. See, I'll tell you what. In the context of what we are discussing today, we are discussing everything in the context of capitalism. The only and only religion of capitalism is profits. Okay, and So when we talk about morality and when we talk about ethics, of course, every brands do have responsibilities that they should not be creating or doing anything that can potentially harm anyone, any individual or a community or a society or even nature. Saying which profits will really be the most important and first priority for any organization who are in the business of business, essentially. So there is, honestly, no line over here. And the smartphone example that you spoke about, and a case of a particular brand which I think you're alluding to, these brands are standing, of course, a lot of technical prowess, they do stand upon that, but there is a lot of FOMO, as we keep and I know it's a little old word now, but FOMO is something that these people build months and months before a product even gets announced. And when the product is actually on the market, it will bring you to the point where they'll make you feel that if you don't have it, or if you're not in that queue, you're really missing out a lot in life, and nobody wants to be a loser. And that's why people will queue up and do that.
That's something which we probably can also resonate with as consumers ourselves.
Absolutely.
We've
I think
fallen into that trap.
Saiba and Avilash, we all have fallen victims to impulse buying. And as Saiba was talking about the example of standing in queues, I think we also have stood in those queues. So that brings me to a question. Avilash, I'm really intrigued to know, and I'm sure our viewers are also intrigued to know, why do we end up buying things which we don't need? Which part of our insecurities these brands are hitting? So what is the science behind impulse buying?
Right. I think the answer to this can be rooted back to the very classical hierarchy of needs pyramid, right? And I think that's probably the best illustration of the journey of a person's life, and an overall snapshot of the socioeconomic society. Where the desires come from are basically, it depends on which stage of the pyramid you are in right now. So if you are at a physiological stage, the brand will they'll engineer the communication towards you in a manner where you'll really feel that your physiological needs are not taken care of, and you need to essentially go and acquire certain things that will make you fulfilled of your physiological needs. Now the desire factor really goes up and up more you go up the pyramid, right? And then you get into aspects like security needs. You feel that you need certain things because it'll make you feel secure, even if you're secure otherwise. Then you get on to societal needs. You will have the need to feel accepted, feel validated. Now that's where a lot of premium brands operate, right? And and then you get into luxury needs, and for a lot of people, luxury becomes a necessity, right? Because you have moved up or progressed to that particular level. And eventually self-actualization, and as we were discussing some time back, that probably was a very pure space. And in the last I would say maybe 15 to 20 years, we've seen self-actualization has also become a very strong need, and there are brands which are marketing spirituality, wellness, how do you evolve yourself as a human being, the self-help space. So that space has also been taken by business marketing. So I think the hierarchy pyramid is one very I would say simple way to look into that. Where are you as an individual customer plotted in the hierarchy pyramid? And there are, of course, many ways to create insecurities in you, making you feel that you are really missing out on a lot of things. You are into an existential crisis if you don't get that phone, standing in the queue, and eventually making you purchase the product.
So Avilash, I'm a professor of human resource management, so this is
awesome.
This is very close to my heart. And I would love to know the intersection that you've just discussed. Somebody at self-actualization level, or somebody below that level, which is self-esteem. How do brands tap on to these needs? In your experience, have you seen brands tapping on to different levels of the need tree?
So absolutely, I think the entire science of brand management, marketing stands on this particular addressing the need gap. As I was saying, and since we are bringing up the hierarchy pyramid over here, which I really feel is a very fundamental psychological structure or an illustration that explains how human beings evolve in their basic needs. But even if I take the basic most need, right, which is the physiological need, and what do physiological need really address? They address things that you need to survive, which is essentially the roti kapra makan,
Yes.
right? Now, if you look at these three things, roti, kapda, makan, all these three fundamental aspects of physiological needs are probably no more physiological in nature. They have probably become a luxury as well. Now, the interesting part is that you can see Maslow's both horizontally or vertically as well, that let's say a makan, or somewhere where I stay, where I need to stay, a shelter that I require, which is the primary definition of a house or a home, has taken a leap into the luxury space, or to some extent a self-actualization space. Look at what the DLFs are doing, the M3Ms are doing. Is DLF selling to you a physiological need which is a shelter? No. It is selling to you, a societal need. It is selling to you a luxury need. It is to some extent selling to you a self-actualization need, right? Similarly, if you look at kapda, again, I think we are all, a part of that big nexus called fashion, right? Clothing is something we require for our basic needs, but it is no more basic anymore. It has become a need of validation. It has become a need of how we project ourselves as brands as well. Food, again, food is it is no more food. It is taken into an Epicurean angle altogether of a form of art, to see to that. Now, see, there's a lot of upward and downward movement happening. Your physiological needs are being portrayed as higher order needs. A lot of higher order needs are actually being portrayed as lower order needs, right? Like, for example, we spoke about the wellness industry, we spoke about self-actualization. If you look at this from an industry point of view, if I have to sell wellness to you, I'm actually telling you that wellness is your physiological need. It is not a self-actualization need. It's not a higher order need. You need it probably more than you need your food. You need your clothes, right? So I think there's a very, very interesting, upward and downward movement into the hierarchy of needs that we are seeing in the 21st century. And of course, it's going to get more intense. It's going to get more competitive in nature. And I mean, as a professional, I only see a very exciting, time coming up. But as a consumer, it's just going to get more confusing and more money flowing out of the pocket.
Right. That's something very interesting that you kind of brought up, that either the needs are moving up and down the ladder, which was initially discussed in the theory. Now, what you're basically essentially trying to say is that the product can be as basic as food or as basic as shelter, but marketers may choose to tap into a different need of consumer,
Right.
rather than tapping into essentially the physiological needs of consumer.
Right.
And that brings me to my next question: how do marketers do this?
Right.
I'll just kind of bring in an example over here. We've all fallen for marketing tricks. A simple example is that many times on websites we will notice brands mentioning XYZ units of a product sold. The idea is to generate what we call in marketing terms as social proofing, where
Correct.
you are kind of creating FOMO, as you said, the fear of missing out. And at a very subconscious level, consumers are influenced to buying into that product because so many other people have bought the same product. So, in your experience, what are some other such tricks that marketers use to kind of induce impulse purchases, or rather, kind of induce a feeling of that need, like we just talked about?
Right. So I'll tell you the single word answer to this question is called brand. Okay. Now, brand is that particular tool a business uses to create desire in the mind of the consumer, right? How a brand is being taken to the consumer is a process called marketing, right? And again, these things shouldn't be confused, because brand is really the philosophy and the image. Marketing is the process, the vehicle through which it goes to you. If you look at the evolution of businesses in the last, I would say 50 years, right? While brands, did exist, but the proliferation and the entire commoditizing of brands have really come into the last 20 years, 30 years, because of at the end of the day, a product is a product, right? We say this we used to say this in advertising: a soap is a soap is a soap. But then suddenly Dove comes to you and says that, I know I'm a soap as well, but I have a very different thinking, and I think every woman is beautiful. I don't need to necessarily show a particular woman of a particular hue or shade and then try to say that this person is beautiful. Any person of any shape and size is beautiful, and now that creates an emotional cord. And then the consumer starts feeling, oh, great, because maybe out of the entire mankind, be it men or women, maybe 99% of people are flawed, right? So now if I'm marketing something by showing that perfect picture, people will eventually get they will not find it relevant. So then I need to bring in relatability. And then the reason I'm saying Dove, because Dove kind of broke that, I guess 25 years back, they broke this entire format of personal beauty, saying that you don't need to, it is not about an artificial beauty, because it doesn't exist. What exists are real people, right? And I am this soap for the real people. Now it is somewhere creating desire by creating relevance, right? Now, therefore, there are ways to create desire. Either I differentiate myself to you. iPhone or Apple is a great example of product differentiation. So is Tesla today, right? The products are completely, they're manufactured differently for you to create a perception about them that they are really different. And for products, and which most of the products are, which are commodity products, such as a soap, they will have a very different philosophy, and that philosophy will establish to you that I might be just another soap bar, but I am the one which is relevant for you. And I would just like to give one example before we finish this question. And it's been my favorite brand of all times. It's Coca-Cola, right? And it amazes me, to even think that for decades a brand has just sold sugared water and has remained the top of mind, most loved brand across the globe. Now how? Because the brand tapped into emotions, right? And I say this to anyone who is even studying marketing or brand management, that understand how Coke was evolved. That at the end of the year, selling just water, and that too something which in today's date we have started realizing that it's not very healthy for us. How has that remained the most favorite brand for you? Because it has tapped onto your emotional needs, right? I think what's worth mentioning for Coke is that in 1920s or 30s, when Coca-Cola, and it's a 100+ year old brand, they were not selling in the winter time. And what did they do? They took a figure from the mythology, which is Saint Nicholas, and they transformed it into Santa Claus. So Santa Claus, probably one of the most popular cultural icon, is actually a product of a marketing tactic. Now that's how geniuses these people who construct these brands are, right? So Santa Claus, if you see, it's Coca-Cola colors, it's white and red. And it's a character that is created by Coke. They didn't IP it. They released the character out in culture, and we all know Santa Claus, but by enjoying Santa Claus, we are subliminally consuming Coke. Now that's what great brands do. They really, really get inside your psychology.
I think, Avilash, it's amazing to know that Santa Claus itself is actually a product. If you look at
Absolutely.
it, and Avilash, we have understood till now that brands, they create desire by tapping into your relatability,
Correct.
your emotional quotient, and also maybe injecting a certain need for perfectionism, and also tapping into some aspect of your deeper insecurities. I'm gonna touch upon a new buzzword, Avilash, which is minimalism.
Right.
Is minimalism a new product? How do you look at minimalism? We have capitalism on one end of the spectrum, and now we have a new buzzword, which is minimalism. How do you look at it?
Okay. I think it's a great question. Minimalism, if I have to answer you very honestly, I think it is just another word created to build another industry, right? It's not a way of life. It is a way of life that brands are asking you to adopt. Okay. And I might say something very controversial over here, that it's been said that we have seen in past that a lot of culture gets created because the world of capitalism feels that culture is getting saturated, so why don't you create a different culture? This psychology can go to very, I would say, destructive extents of the fact that the world probably hasn't seen a pandemic in the last 50 years and create a pandemic, right? Now, these are all, of course, conspiracy theories. Minimalism again is a concept. As business owners, if you see that your products and your industries and the human behavior is getting saturated, but your sales graph has to go high. Now, how do you take the sales graph go high? You create a different belief system altogether. Now, for the last 30 years, I have told you junk is great, and junk wear is great, and accessories are fantastic, bling is awesome, and try to put in makeup and jewelries, and hoard yourself with things. Now that behavior has got saturated in the last 20-30 years. So what do marketers do now? Now you start going the reverse. Now you say, you know what, shed this off. You don't need all these things. Be yourself, be minimalistic. And here I am a brand who is offering minimalism to you. So I'm creating a whole new different usage pattern for you, because my previous usage pattern has got saturated. My sales are not going up, right? And I'm saying this as an industry, you think, right? My sales are not going up, so I need to create a new behavioral pattern.
In fact, this is something that we've also noticed in the influencer industry, because influencers are also essentially brands. It's person marketing. And because they're so done and dusted with selling products, that they've now moved on to the trend called de-influencing, where they're kind of convincing their followers that, you know what, you do not need so many products. I'm reviewing it because
Right.
this is my job.
Right. I just like to quickly therefore bring upon this aspect of, and I don't want to get too technical about it, but our entire understanding about this field of economics called behavioral economics, which has really come up in the last 20 years, are helping us understand this more, right? We used to understand this as consumer behavior, we used to understand this as human psychology, but behavioral economics, for the benefit of your viewers as well, is a space of study which combines psychology and economics, right? Now, behind every economic decision, there is a very strong psychological bias that gets involved over here, right? So if I'm saying minimalism, I'm again somewhere trying to tap onto certain biases that you already have, right? Because if you look at the extensive study of behavioral economics, it says that 2% of our decisions are actually rational decisions. 98% of our decisions are impulse driven decisions, right? As much as you can think that you're a practical person, you are taking decisions basis on certain inherent biases that you already have. Now, brands are very intelligent to tap onto their biases, right? It could be, it could be a bias which is about your confidence. It could be a bias which could be about your insecurity. It could be a bias about how you view the world. So anyway, I'm not getting too deep into that, but it's all about a psychological construct that a brand taps into, and then you start feeling, oh my God, this guy is really saying what I've been also thinking. So this is the person for me. This is the price. Then you don't think it as expensive.
Right. Saiba, given both of us are impulse buyers and we're shopaholics, I think we both need to maybe adopt to minimalism. I don't know to what extent we'll
But
be
again,
able to.
minimalism is being sold to us.
But that's the point, exactly. That's the point. Don't think through minimalism you will stop buying.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably your buying will increase.
Or you'll probably start buying a product or a brand that markets itself to be minimalist.
Absolutely.
And I think as a consumer, I'm left confused.
Creating confusion is again a great part of a tactic
process.
of marketing.
Absolutely.
But it is, we have heard this term called slow fashion and stuff like that. Even slowness, as a concept, as a philosophical concept, spiritual concept, has again been in vogue for the last few years. While there is of course some truth definitely behind it, but what we see in our screens, nothing is true. This is all a post-truth world, right? And it is being sent to you with a particular financial objective from the person that it's coming from.
So Avilash, help me understand as a consumer, there are so many new words coming. Minimalism is one, slow fashion, as you said, is one. Where does it end, if at all it ends? Is there a line that brands need to draw between inspiring people and manipulating people? So, is there a line, first of all? And if there is, where does it end?
I think the answer is beyond the business domains over here. The line is you, and it starts with you and it ends with you. As an individual, if you feel that you need to be very rational about your purchases, understanding what you really need versus what you don't need, that is the line, right? But that is a topic for a spiritual podcast. And as we were discussing, I think the lines of consumerism, capitalism, spiritualism, they are all somewhere going in the same space. And I think it is one area that people should talk about. But the line is really you, because see, from a brand point of view, the brand will never draw a line. The job of the brand is to push the line, because it is just, otherwise how would we become an X trillion dollar economy from what we are right now, as a country or as an overall market altogether, right? Now it is all about taking it forward, pushing the line further ahead. But I think the answer over here lies individually, that you need to understand where to draw the line, because nobody is going to come and tell you where to draw the line, because the job of the external world to actually push the line for you.
So, Avilash, can we draw a parallel? Let's say the way pharmaceutical companies, they're scared of Ayurveda.
Right.
Because if I
You're
get
right.
into my basic remedies, who's going to buy the medicines? Similarly, if I become a rational consumer, that's a threat for the brands. Can I say that?
I think that's a fantastic industry that you spoke about, right? And it kind of really pains me, at a personal level also, right? Where where there are industries and there are scientific progresses that has happened to make people's life better. In this case, the entire pharmaceutical industry, right? The wellness industry. Now, these industries are no more well-being industries. They're all profit-driving industries, right? And as you very correctly said, if the moment there is it's just like competition, right? The moment there is a new brand on the block, the bigger brand will try to crush it. Same goes for industries. Moment there is a new industry that is coming, and that is probably trying to give the same benefit to the consumer as of the larger industry is giving, which is maybe healing or curing in this case, the larger brands will try to crush, right? We know this controversy about homeopathy, right? It's been branded as a pseudoscience by World Health Organization. Now, who runs the World Health Organization? It's run by the capitalistic bosses running the pharmaceutical companies, running the financial companies who have invested money on the pharmaceutical companies. So it's really it's the in James Bond terminology, it's really the head of the Hydra, the head of the octopus, and the tentacles are spread all around. I'm not trying to really paint a very dark picture of capitalism. I am very much a part of it. But if I see this, because you brought the question about the line, if I see it from that aspect, and then you need to start looking within, and then you will see these are all somewhere connected to drive profit to the headquarters, right? So it really depends on my own knowledge, my own research, and my own intelligence to pick the product that is good for me, not necessarily pick the product which the world is telling me to pick, right? So therefore, outside in thinking should really go low, inside out thinking should really go high. And that is where knowledge, self-belief, and when I say knowledge, I don't mean like frivolous knowledge. I mean really proper domain knowledge. That will come and really help you draw the line as soon as possible.
Avinash, one last question. We see a lot of proliferation of the social media,
Right.
and there are influencers all over the place.
Right.
There's a lot of content that is available to read and view, which to a large extent is also responsible for inducing consumers to purchase more.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? What role does media play in inducing these purchases, and can media also play a significant role in controlling these purchases in the
Right.
times to come?
Right, absolutely. I'm very glad you brought this question up. If brand was the starting point of this journey of consumerism, media is the end point of the journey into consumerism, right? So media is the last delivery vehicle which goes and instills that final thought into you, right? About 10 years back, Google came up with this great term called ZMOT, or zero moment of truth. It is that moment where your where your intent gets transferred into action, right? And that action could be going to the Amazon app, or buying something, or walking out to the store. So that is where your the awareness to desire to intent to action, that that cycle gets completed. So I think media is playing an extremely important part, and that's why you will see some of the largest companies in the world are media companies. They are literally the people who are responsible what about what we see, and to some extent, if I may say, what we think as well, right? And it is about building public opinion, and that can really go into a broad horizon of our opinion about politics, our opinion about consumerism, our opinions about brand, our opinion about essentially every action that we do. Influencers are, of course, playing a very important part about it today, because we are in the creator economy, right? We don't no longer feel great about seeing one of the superstars coming and saying, take this toothbrush. We know it's not real. However, one of the influencers that I really like, and he's like, just the girl next door, boy next door, coming and saying, I'm going to use this toothbrush, appears way more believable to me, and eventually I'll probably go and buy that product. So yeah, it's really the last point of conversion where media helps deliver that final product, and that is why media also as an industry is moving on from awareness driving to performance driving, where media is held accountable to convert certain business metrics.
So you talked about media being the channel of reducing the intention action gap. And that is in the context of making purchases. But at the same time, media can also be used as a vehicle of reducing intention action gap in the context of inducing minimalism or care for environment or sustainability. But those kind of seem hard. And despite all the awareness that media has created about sustainability, we still struggle to kind of control ourselves from that impulse purchase at a fast fashion store.
This is great, and I'm very happy you brought about sustainability. I don't think we spoke about this before. I think sustainability is really the need of the hour, because of the world that we are living in, right? Of the extreme amount and the effects of climate change that we are seeing. That is really the biggest need of the hour, and every organization and brands, they do have the corporate responsibility to because brands are influencers, right? They are the biggest influencers. Now the problem is, like everything else, sustainability has also become a business. Okay, now where do you go therefore? Okay, see, it's human mind. Human mind probably is structured in a way, and maybe we need to get into behavioral science for this. Our neuroscience, our neurostructure is created in a way that we'll get gravitated towards things that benefits us, right? If you start from the way Adam and Eve behaved to the cavemen behaved to what it is now, every philosophy starts with a good intent, but it then will definitely move towards people who are working on the philosophy, thinking that okay, this is a great wave, how can I create benefit for myself for this? Now sustainability therefore has become a massive business, I would say, strategy, right? While there are brands who are doing really good stuff, recycling is in its all-time high. We are seeing lesser and lesser, though there's a long way to go, wastage on the oceans and our waters, because it's really killing our marine lives, and we are not understanding how it's going to impact it to us. We are taking a lot of cognizance into industrial emissions. The world is significantly moving towards alternative energy. There are real work happening, and I'm not denying that. However, what we get to see is a much more expanded version of that real work, basis which a lot of brands are actually trying to make you believe that if you purchase their product, you're going to add to that, and you may not be adding to that as significantly as it's been shown. Right. So, go to fashion. I think great example. You will get a sustainability section. The products over there are priced, X of the normal products, right? Now, I'm not a fashion designer, I don't know, but if you're really using recycled material, then why are you charging more? Why don't you charge me less? Right? And of course, they have their own explanation for that. And it is not only for fashion, it's for any industry. The moment you are buying something or you are subscribing to something which has a sustainability tag to it, you are actually paying more for it. So while it's a great cause, but it has become a business cause again, and I really wish that policy level implementations really come in over here, because that's really one area, and we didn't speak about policy today, but that's probably one area which is devoid of business ambitions. That is where real human behavior can be changed, and I really hope that we get some very strong policy level interventions soon.
Thank you so much, Abhilash, for joining us. Dr. Tavleen and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I hope our viewers did too.
Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. And please let us know your stories where you have bought products which you did not even know that you needed. And we would be glad to know from you which aspect of human psychology or human behavior you want us to explore next. So subscribe to stay connected and stay updated. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Abhilash.
you. Thank you.
Thanks a ton.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, both of you. I wish you both all the very best. It's a great initiative, and I congratulate you for this.
Thanks
Thank
a ton.
you.
Means a lot. Thank you.